All right, welcome to a very special episode of the Slack Doctors. I am Dr. Chip.
I am Dr. Bob.
And today we have a very special guest, officially, other than our nurse Becca, who's kind of more of a sidekick than a guest. Actually, our first official guest in the Growth Professor Studio, and that would be the president and owner of the Growth Professor Studio, John Rizvi, otherwise known as The Riz. So he's been gracious enough to grace us with his presence today, and we have tons of questions for him. But first, before we ask him any questions, I want to lay a heap of praise on him, that we are more than thrilled with the performance we're getting from this studio.
The way I would describe our previous studio is a way that I heard one of my chefs describe a place. This is when I worked up in North Carolina, and this guy ran a small, kind of a small place, did a lot of Cajun food and everything. New restaurant opens up, and he says about it, he goes, "It's all glitz and no grits."
There you go. Perfect description. Well, first of all, tell everybody about your podcast and what kind of got you into doing the podcast. And I assume the podcast that you're doing kind of led to opening your own studio. Is that correct?
Yep, 100%.
So tell us about your podcast.
Yeah, so I'm the patent attorney. I grew my law firm from like a spare bedroom in my home with a laptop and a cell phone to a firm of 60 professionals in this building and doing $10 million a year in revenue. And a big part of that growth was just branding and positioning and building authority. And I started doing that through video content and later on a podcast as well, and getting podcast content that way. And I've been, like podcast, over the years, I've had other lawyers ask me for help in growing their law firms and other businesses in branding themselves. One of the first businesses that helped is my wife's a dentist, and I helped brand her with her dental office name, My Dentist for Life. And she, of course, is a customer of Growth Professor Studios as well, and she started a podcast along with my daughter, who's a dentist.
So I watched one of the episodes of your podcast, and I found it very interesting and informative. And there's tons of questions I have about not only patent stuff but lawyering. But the first question I have is, in that particular instance of the episode I watched, it was a lady that had invented some little screw that you use to fix your glasses that makes it easier, so you just snap off the bottom or something like that, right? But did she invent that, or did she just patent it?
Oh, well, in order to get a patent, you have to be the inventor. So there's this misconception that you can, and we get that a lot in South Florida. We have like an international clientele, and sometimes they believe that if something's not done in the United States, but they've seen an idea in a foreign country, that they can file for a patent. And that's not the case. You have to be the inventor in order to file for a patent.
Interesting.
So the Chinese method then.
But for instance, like I thought that in that particular episode that she had mentioned that she'd either seen something or something had inspired her to do it that I thought she said was either very similar or almost the same thing. So how much do you have to, like, say she saw something similar, because I thought she was talking about something that she'd seen actual optometrists doing or something like that. But say she saw something similar and just tweaked it a little bit, does that make it legal to get a patent for something that...
Yeah, so in fact, most patents are just improvements over something that already exists. And the requirements for patentability, there's 3 requirements. Novelty, which means it's new. And new just means it hasn't been done before or publicly disclosed. Useful, there's a utility requirement. And then non-obvious. And non-obvious is the trickiest one. That's the subjective one, because it's, different examiners at the patent office are going to disagree as to what an obvious invention is.
Well, that's an interesting question. Who decides?
That seems very vague.
Right.
No, I mean, if nobody has thought of it before, then how could it possibly be obvious?
So it's the $1 million question, and that's why you have different examiners with a different viewpoint, and that's not the way it's supposed to be, right? That's not how justice is supposed to be. Justice is supposed to be blind, and you're supposed to get the same answer regardless of who the fact finder or decision maker is. But the Patent Office has 7,000 examiners,
Wow.
and they
Holy
clearly
Jesus.
differ in views on what's an obvious change.
Right.
But when the question comes up on whether something's obvious or not, they look at basically all kinds of other facts to help them decide if it's obvious. One of the big factors is sales, and in a free market, if something is an obvious change and there's money to be made, then others should have jumped in and done it. And that's a really strong argument that inventors have. They say, hey, I've sold $400 million of this product in 2 years. And if it was obvious, there's no huge obstacle that I've overcome. If it was obvious, somebody else should have jumped in and done it. And it wasn't obvious. It was going against conventional thinking. And that's, if you make that argument, you have sales to back it up. You may be able to persuade an examiner on patentability.
And then not only that, there are different kinds of patents. Not only different kinds, but geographically different patents as well, correct?
Oh, yeah. So patents are country specific. So initially, we're a U.S.-based law firm. You file in the United States. And once you file for the patent, under international treaties, you're automatically protected for 1 year and have priority to file an application in any of the other signatory countries, which is pretty much most of the world. And as long as you do that within that 1 year time period, you protect your rights, and your rights go back to your initial U.S. filing. So there's different types of patents in terms of geography, yes, country specific, but there's also two primary types of patents. A design patent protects the look of an invention, and a utility patent protects the way it functions. So some products or ideas, you may have both. You have design patent protection and utility patent protection.
An intellectual patent would be utility, I assume, right?
Well, they're both.
Or is that is that even a thing?
The general term is intellectual property, and that's super broad,
right.
and that includes copyrights, which is typically written material or creative material, trademarks, which is branding. All of that falls within intellectual property. So intellectual property is generally patents, trademarks, copyrights, and then there's a fourth category of trade secrets, which is basically information that's kept secret by a company, and they don't necessarily file to get trade secret protection. The law just protects that information based on the company taking steps to keep it confidential.
That's an interesting, you should say that, because Dr. Bob had sent a video that we were going to maybe take a look at and ask you some questions. But the gist of it is, how about these people that say that there's a guy that invented a car that runs on water, got the patent, and then an oil company.
Before we got into that, I wanted to bring up another point too about
the
three criteria you said earlier. So I find it interesting, and there's another one of the three that I think could be maybe vague, which is the improvement thing. So it's not enough to simply take a product and invent a different way of making it or a different way for it to operate. You have to prove that your way of doing it is an improvement on the previous.
So, improvement's subjective. So you don't have to prove that it's an improvement. The one example I like to give is when rollerblade came out with the inline skate.
Right.
Before the inline skate, you could typically, if you're skating, you can fall forwards and you fall backwards, but falling to the left or right was not really something you had to worry about. Now with inline skates, now you can fall forwards, backwards, left, and right. Is that an improvement? And it's subjective. Like some would say, no, that's worse. That's making skating harder. Right. So that's not an improvement. Others would say, no, that's an improvement. So they're not looking for an improvement. They're looking for a non-obvious difference. And I guess I would leave it at difference, because some would not say.
Yeah, but you can't grind a rail on the old school skate. So
you could.
How extreme
Maybe,
you want to go.
I don't know. Anyway. But, that leads me to a question. Do they ever, do you ever go to a trial as a patent lawyer? Do you ever go to trial about anything?
So trials are incredibly rare in patent law because
I think so, yeah.
The issue typically is not truth. So generally for most lawyers, it's, who's telling the truth, who's lying. Right. In patent cases, it comes down to, when did you invent the product? Have you filed for a patent? And there's typically documentation for all of this.
Right.
So Truth is going away even in other areas of law because of technology. Like now with, for example, red light cameras, a lot of trials are not making it. A lot of cases are not making it to trial because
Right.
there's no longer a question as to who crossed on red, who crossed on green, and you don't have to ask witnesses. It's all right there. The technology is going to eliminates the need to argue that. Now, contracts, for example, what were the meeting of the minds? What were the parties thinking when the contract was being drafted? Previously, all you had was the final contract, and then you'd have to have a lot of testimony and witnesses as to what each party was thinking. Now you have versions of the contract, electronic documentation on how the contract got from its first draft to its ninth draft until it's finalized. That addresses a lot of the questions as to what the parties are thinking. So I think in general, trial is very rare in patent cases. It does happen. Typically, patent cases end up settling well before that
Right.
standpoint because somebody has just like incredible evidence.
Now,
and
as a
support on their
follow-up,
side.
though, if perchance by long shot that it does go to trial, what are the chances that there's a jury involved, or do you think it's just a judge?
Yeah. Oh, it could be both. If there's cases that are triable by jury, you can request a jury trial. Matters of law, you're going to have that typically decided by a judge.
Right,
But
right.
matters of
Interesting.
fact, a jury's going to be.
Oh, so okay, so it's
Chiming in
law
on that.
versus fact. I got you.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. All right, and before I forget, you're not getting out of here without us talking about your rap career. and also, I wanted to make a shout out just to a recent friend of show, this guy on X called "We Are Not Going to Mars." I wanted to make sure we got a shout out to this guy because he is.
I mentioned him in the last.
That's
in the
true.
last
That's true.
Episode.
That's true. But
You said you've seen him all over X.
Yes, yes. And this guy is deep. I mean, I've never seen anybody so deep into explaining what happened to Charlie Kirk. This guy posts literally like pages of stuff on X about. He thinks that Charlie was shot twice, and he says he can prove it. It's very interesting. Anyway, so back to patent stuff. Well, do you have any more patent questions, or we should just move on to basic lawyer questions?
Well, I mean, I just wanted to ask about when you said, if you file a patent, let's say you file a patent in the United States and you have 1 year, you said to file it within those other countries. I don't know why you would choose the other countries unless you were going to manufacture and or sell the product there. But I guess what I'm really asking is when things go awry with international disputes like that, how is that even resolved? What
Is there an international
I
court?
would assume that the case originates in the country in which the patent was filed. But if
Correct.
somebody in some other country violates that and starts producing a knockoff, what can you do? Who would even be involved in something like that?
So it gives you the exclusive right to make, use, or sell the idea covered by the patent within that country. The reason people file internationally is because if you want the exclusive rights to sell, say, in the United States, but you also want to control where it's manufactured. So you could file for the patent in, say China or Japan or anywhere else, and therefore you have better coverage. But if you do have to bring a lawsuit, it would have to be under, as Dr. Ram said, the country of where the patent's in force.
All right, you got any more patent questions?
No, but I'm sure some will come to mind. But I mean, the rest are going to relate to the video that I sent you and how much we can talk about that or
well,
not.
yeah, I almost forgot. We should finish the question of like say the guy that had the patent on the car that runs on water, and an oil company buys it, and can they just legally just shelve it? Is there any way that somebody else could maybe tweak it a little bit and come back out and repatent it as something? I mean, or is that technology just going to be lost forever, or how does that work?
So, well, the good news is patents are, and it depends on your perspective if it's good news or not, but patents are not forever. They're good for 20 years from the date of filing. So I guess what your question's getting, right? If somebody has a patent on a car that runs on water, the oil companies don't like it, yes, they can purchase that patent and they have the exclusive rights to exclude anybody else from making, using, or selling it, but not forever. So they have a 20-year time period where they can maximize their profits. But after that, there's nothing they can do to stop others from using that invention once the patent expires. So 20 years is the most you can get on a utility patent, which is the function.
Right.
The other type is a design patent, and those have pretty long lifespan as well, but not 20. It's 15 years from the date of filing.
So clearly, it's been at least 15 or 20 years since this guy that invented the water, the car that runs on water. So,
Well, first of all, did that ever happen?
I'm not aware of. Yeah, I'm not aware of.
well, I mean, it's supposedly it's kind of an urban myth that somebody back in like the 80s invented a car that would run a. And so, I don't know that it actually ever happened either. We're talking obviously hypothetically, but
if it did, the patents.
The subject of the video
now.
was about, that there are supposedly, I guess the subject of the video is that supposedly there are some patents that are inventions rather that are deemed a national security risk or too disruptive or whatever, and those patents are denied. Can you have a patent denied for something like that? Or have you ever heard of such a thing?
Yes, there are. The U.S. Patent Office will not grant a patent that is a threat to national security. So, I don't know, say, we now are, it's become normal to have your shoes scanned for bombs, right? When at the airport, right. Like the TSA will check that. If somebody files for a patent for a shoe that allows you to bypass,
right, not be scanned or
not
something,
be scanned, and you could keep explosive material inside the heel of your shoe, the patent office is not going to grant that patent because patents, when they're granted, they're also published.
So how did the guy who invented a radar detector get a patent? Like,
well, I was just going to say,
there have been some inventions.
So the radar detector. So patents are, if it's against national security.
Yeah, that's not national security. That's just the law.
No,
it's just stupid laws.
But the law
state by state.
is state by state, exactly. So there's no, and that's why there's nothing preventing patents on back when it was illegal to grow marijuana in all 50 states. You still can file for a patent for things that are illegal everywhere, as long as it's not seen as a threat to national security.
Right, like grow lights or something like that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like
That's funny. That's just how the IRS has a place for you to write in illegal income.
Right.
You don't have to tell them how you got it. We just want to know the amount so we can tax you accordingly.
But the obvious question is, what kind of person has the thought process? I just invented a shoe that can beat the bomb thing at the. Let's take out a patent on it.
I should probably register that with my name on it immediately. Yeah.
I don't know if that's such a great idea.
And they're published also. So not only that, it gets published for everyone to see.
I don't know if I'd go that route, but okay. Yeah, interesting. All right. Any more patent questions?
No, I guess not.
All right. First of all, I can't remember the goddamn guy's name. Who's the guy back in like the 60s? He had a show. He was like the coolest lawyer ever.
Perry Mason?
Thank you. God, I couldn't think of that to save my life. But anyway, if you ever watch old Perry Mason shows? Yep. If you ever need a Steve Drake, I'm your guy.
Paul Drake.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I stand corrected.
I love those Perry Mason.
Paul Drake. Yes. I've always said Ram and I both should have been lawyers, but that's really the role I think I should have been. Is like not exactly the lawyer, but the guy that kind of sneaks around and does the private eye work, and knocks a couple of heads if you need it done. That's me. If you ever need that done, I'm your guy.
I think
my dad loved Perry Mason. He used to watch it all the time.
Yeah, it's a great show. Paul.
When you look back at like the 60s and the 70s and think of how cool James Bond was. James Bond hadn't have shit on Perry Mason. Perry Mason was cool as hell. I mean, there wasn't a cooler dude in the room when he was there. That was it. He was the coolest guy around. Anyway, so being that we are probably both frustrated lawyers, when you go to law school, how do you? Let's ask you, like, for instance, what made you pick patent law?
Yeah, so my undergrad was in structural engineering. So patent lawyers are kind of unique.
Okay. Yeah, that's a natural progression. Okay.
So you start as a structural engineer, and I had in undergrad in engineering college a professor who was doing a study on taking crushed glass so that it doesn't fill up landfills, and instead of having it be junk, was using it as aggregate to add to asphalt for highways.
Great idea. Yeah.
And did a study for how it would light up the roads better, and was focusing on and filing patents for it. So that's when I got my first introduction to patent law.
Interesting.
And it's just a natural progression when you go to law school. As soon as professors and others find out, oh, you're an engineer, and you kind of get pushed towards patent law as the area of law where you would specialize in. To me, it also made the most logical sense, because as an engineer, our answers always had decimal places, right? There's like set answers. And then when I first get to law school and everything's, the trial court decided, $9 million for the plaintiff, and then appellate court, it goes up there, and then it gets reversed, and $9 million flips around to the other side. Wow. And all of a sudden, for an engineer, this just drove me nuts, because it's like incredibly subjective. And I gravitated towards areas of law where there was like clear precedent and basis, and it's a lot more predictable. And that's why patent law certainly fits the bill for that.
Now, let me ask you this. When you're going to law school, do you have to declare, like when you're in college, you have to declare like not a major, obviously, but a specialty field at some point in your law school career?
You don't. Generally, once you pass the state bar, you're permitted to practice in all areas, except there's two other bars that are specialized, and that is the patent bar and the admiralty bar. So if you do have an interest in practicing patent law, you have to pass and take a completely separate bar exam. So in that sense, you kind of have to declare your major, pick a different area. But otherwise...
What was the second kind of admiralty?
Admiralty.
What's that?
So
like on the sea?
Yep, on the sea. So injuries on the sea, territorial international water, like all of that.
Oh, okay. Just
shipping related.
Just to add to your patent knowledge of the patent. And then let me ask you.
You can negotiate with pirates.
Yep. Yeah.
Nothing to do with patent law, just a completely different bar that you have to take.
Right. But it kind of related, and you would need that, obviously, if you're going to do something international or something like that. That's why they make you do it, I would assume. And then also, do you have to go to law school, or could somebody just go take the bar?
So there are patent agents who are.
No, I didn't mean specifically for patent, just to be a lawyer.
Well, I believe California might be the only state. California might be the only state in the country where you don't have to pass. You don't have to go to law school. You have to pass the California bar exam. But I'm not aware of any other states that permit that. Every other state, you've got to go to law school in order to pass the exam.
And how do they enforce that? Do the law schools are the ones that administer the test or something?
So, you still have to be regulated by the bar. You still have to apply to be given a license to practice law.
Gotcha. So if they see you haven't been to school at all, they're like, get out of here.
Right.
Gotcha. Interesting. Yeah, because I always thought that. I was like, why doesn't somebody just study for the bar and become a lawyer and skip the whole... But I guess they want to make you spend the money and go through the classes. And I'm sure you learn absolutely, imperative stuff that you have to know.
Like the theory in school of skipping all your classes and just showing up at the end of semester and taking the test, taking the final and passing it.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's private courses that help. Even if you've gone to law school, you take private review courses to
like
help
tutors
to pass the bar. So even going to law school is not enough. You still take these. So I suppose in California, if you haven't gone to law school, you really need to take a good review course.
I would say so.
To pass the bar.
Let me ask you this: in law school, do they teach you, like when I went to real estate school to get a stupid real estate license, they give you one specific class on how to take a test. Do they do that in law school as well?
They may now. Again, I went to law school in 1994.
Okay.
So 94 to 97. There really wasn't any coursework on how to really prepare.
Yeah, it's funny too, because I mean they give you, basically prepare you how to take the real estate test, which is multiple guests, which is funny because I sat through this whole class of how to take a test, and if I guess I just somehow innately knew how to do this because I've always tested well, and just this whole class just seemed like this is just obvious stuff. Doesn't everybody know how to take a test? You rule out the stuff that's ridiculous, and anyway, but. Yeah.
So, I mean, the big surprise for me for going from engineering school where, again...
figures, facts, and figures,
and numbers and short answers. In law school, when we took our exams, they had these things called blue books, which is just books of empty paper, and they would ask you a question, and it was an open-ended essay.
Right. It's
answer.
concepts.
You just,
concepts,
write.
not facts. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Much more subjective. Yeah. Now, let's go back to something you were talking about earlier, like like for red light cameras. That's basically unconstitutional, is it? And let me explain why I think so. Because whenever you're accused of a crime, aren't you supposed to be able to confront your accuser? How do you confront a camera?
So you can challenge the camera, challenge if it's been tested, if it's working.
Okay.
But yeah, you don't confront in the same sense that you would a witness.
So at some point, those were deemed unconstitutional for a while, weren't they?
They have been challenged, but they're still around. So clearly,
right.
they're
even more with the flock camera and everything now, right?
Right.
So what is your opinion on like our whole? I mean, I don't know. I don't want to get too much in the weeds on politics and stuff, but I mean, like, do you think the government is following the Constitution or not? Yeah, I know that's a rough question. That was a killer sigh there.
Yeah, so I mean, it's funny. I mean, what I can say is I do a lot of radio interviews, typically about intellectual property issues, and an issue that I thought was of major importance was the fact that Donald Trump and his companies are filing for a bunch of trademarks and for things like 250, which is the 250th anniversary of the country.
They didn't get 6-7, did they?
No. Filing for like the Palm Beach International Airport, the Donald Trump International Airport, and I'm pitching to these radio talk show hosts the importance of why these trademarks should not be granted. Like they're misdescriptive and the whole bit.
I can tell you,
I was getting a lot of traction until the world kind of went crazy a couple of weeks ago. And at this point, my interest on the intellectual property attorney that's fascinated by issues of trademarks being filed, all of a sudden kind of fell to the bottom of their list. They're like, listen, there's stuff out there about entire civilizations being destroyed, so we really don't care about.
I'm going to give you one piece of advice before we cut you loose. Definitely make your next podcast about that. That'll be your most viewed podcast, I guarantee you. Let's talk about Trump's trademarks. There you go. But we definitely thank trust me, as soon as you leave, we're going to slobber more heaps of praise on the Growth Professor Studio. It's amazing. Anybody that's thinking about starting a podcast, doing a one-off, this is the place to do it. And I'm sure we're going to have some promotional material that they'll flash across the stream so everybody can get in touch with this guy right here. And take a quick break, and then we'll hit some clips and phone messages and stuff. We are back, and as you just saw, all the information on the Growth Professor Studio. Great place. I can't endorse it enough. They've just been great to us. Speaking of great things, I wanted to show everybody a little clip I found this week, and I believe we really need to make this guy absolutely go viral. But I got to find the thing here. Which one is it? Here we go. This is the one right here. Oh, no, this isn't it. Hold it. Well, this is good, too. This is not the one I was thinking of, but this is actually a good clip to share.
Oh, I already saw this, but yeah, this is classic.
All right, so this is a brilliant idea. Not exactly what I wanted to show, but still a great clip. So here we go.
City Hall meeting in Brisbane, Arizona, with a new plan for the comedians in town following the closure of their only comedy club in March after the owner of Chuckleheads killed both himself and his wife's father, not in that order.
As you probably heard in the scuttlebutt at work, my estranged best friend of 35 years, the owner of Chuckleheads, did this crazy murder-suicide thing, tried to kill his ex-wife, killed her father on her birthday. Chuckleheads. Oh, I'm sorry. Affordable housing is not as funny as this. But what it did, it left a gaping hole in the comedy community. I know this is an artist community, but comedy is kind of like the stepchild, excuse the R word, a special needs stepchild of the arts. There's a gaping hole left the same gaping hole that was in Matt Becker's head when he took his own life in the comedy world. And I tell every up and coming comic, hey, get as much stage time as you can, wherever you can get
They don't
it.
see it
That's
coming.
how you exceed in comedy. And then I realized, oh, shoot, you get 3 minutes timed. Every first and third Tuesday, we're turning this into an open mic until you change the rules. There is a comedy show called Kill Tony. It's the biggest comedy thing. They sell out Madison Square Garden where a comic can just get his name pulled out of a hat. He has 1 minute. And they travel from Los Angeles to Austin to do this Kill Tony show. I implore every comedian on your way from Los Angeles to Austin to stop by every first and third Tuesday. Don't worry, Mr. Budge. They call you a lame duck, but I've never seen you smile more than 28 seconds. I've talked to the next mayor at the farmer's market, and she's all aboard with this. Yes, comics on your way from LA to Austin, Texas, come by and do Kill Bisbee Council. If you can make them laugh, God love you. Thank you, and let's have some fun with the council.
Everything about Stanhope is a class act. I love that guy.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
One of my favorite comedians for years.
Absolutely. He is brilliant, but not the hero I was looking for. I got to figure out which one it is.
Yeah, I had already seen that on YouTube. And I watched the whole thing.
Here's the one I was thinking of, though, and we need to find this guy and make him absolutely viral. God damn it, where's it? There it is. This is the guy right here. This is amazing. All right, here we go. This woman is, if you look up Karen in the dictionary, you find this woman, and this guy is about to let you know about it right now, as we say.
I don't want to have to be the one to say it, but I can't be the only one who's noticed the landscapers eating their lunches in our common areas. I mean, residents use those spaces, and at a certain point, it just starts to feel like they're just hanging around.
Oh, God.
And if their complaint had been like they're leaving their trash, maybe something.
I don't even hear what the lady's saying. I'm just looking at that guy's face the whole time. Like, what the hell kind of bullshit is this lady?
What she's saying and the tone of what she's saying,
and the coup de grace at the end. Oh, Lord.
Well, when she started talking about them and how his eyebrows and just his look,
he just gets that look on his face like, what the fuck is this shit? What the hell is she talking about? Oh, that's awesome. Absolutely awesome.
It's like the Belushi eyebrow.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, anyway.
Let's see. We'll go with the oldest one.
So I'm hate watching this week's Bill Mayer. And he seems to be being an apologist for some child rapist from California, something Chavez or something. Apparently they're scrubbing his name off all the schools. And I thought he was actually leading over to start being apologist for Epstein, the way it was looking. But it turns out he's apologizing for the Saudi Arabian guy, SLB, SMB, whatever the hell his name is. And it just occurred to me, I mean, I think maybe he's going to campaign that this guy should take over Iran, maybe. Maybe he found a Muslim he's not afraid of. Interesting.
There's no way any Saudi Arabian prince is going to become the leader of Iran. Not unless every single Iranian is gone.
Trump's talking about it. Why not? Why not? Who knows? Who knows? It's crazy. But I just
found better luck bringing in a Pakistani. At least they're, both Shia.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just that Bill Mayer is so incredibly, Islamophobic. The fact that he would praise anybody, but the Saudis, they're not so bad. I thought that was kind of funny. All right, what else you got?
All right, this is a Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul question. If you were dealing with somebody that never seen any of it, would you recommend watching Better Call Saul first and then Breaking Bad, since that's chronologically kind of how it works? I don't know. Let me know.
No, actually,
I was going to say
completely. I think you should watch Breaking Bad. I think you should watch it in the order in which it was aired. I feel the same way about Star Wars. It's like you don't go back and watch the prequels before you watch, A New Hope. And one of the main reasons why I would say that is because both shows are amazing, and they're amazing in different ways.
Yeah.
And if you watch Breaking Bad first, I think it makes you appreciate Better Call Saul even more. And the reason I say that is typically when somebody makes a prequel, you're thinking, well, how can this be like, where's the suspense going to be? I know who's going to make it and who's not. And yet the show is done so well that they get around that. And you can't appreciate that if you don't watch it in the order in which it was released.
Not only that, do you know anybody that watched Better Call Saul and not Breaking Bad? Is that even, do you get it? Or is that like,
no.
Yeah, I was going to, that's like,
there's no way you could make it all the way through Better Call Saul without the burning need to see what happens.
I would think, yeah. I would wonder if it would make any sense. It wouldn't, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. And also, no spoilers, but the very end of Better Call Saul wouldn't make sense if you hadn't already seen Breaking Bad.
And then it would also actually be out of chronological order, too. Or something.
I've always been a huge Bob Odenkirk fan, too.
Yeah.
Even back from the days of Mr. Show when he had that show with David
Kids
Cross.
in the Hall. Wasn't he in Kids in the Hall, too, at some time?
No, he was never in Kids in the Hall.
I don't know why I thought he was. He was on Saturday Night Live for a little bit, though, but I think he was only a writer.
Yeah, and he was a writer, too. But he's a really funny guy, and it was great to see him, his character, Saul Goodman, is clearly a funny guy, but there's a lot of drama there, too. Right. And then to see him not only get the role in Nobody, but to actually execute it the way he did, I was highly impressed. I would have never pegged that guy to be able to pull off an action movie like that, but he did a great job.
Yeah, true. All right,
such a great job that he had a heart attack and yet still managed to
keep filming. That's right. I forgot about that.
Pretty badass. All right, here's the last one.
All right, so I'm sitting here watching a PBD podcast. And I swear, the best part of this podcast is watching the reactions of Adam and Vinny trying to follow PBD when he goes off on one of his analogous rants about whatever the hell he's talking about. I mean, literally, he circles here 3 times around and then comes back 3 times the other way to get to some point that's like, what the fuck is he talking about?
The best thing, I swear to God. Okay, so is that it?
That was it, yeah.
So the best thing, I was actually just watching this today, and this exact thing happened. So he's got Tom, smartest guy by far. He's got Vinny, he's got Adam. And then he's talking, and he's going along, and he's talking about something, and he goes, okay, so to explain this, I'm going to go back here to what I had for breakfast, and we're going to start there, and we're going to explain my day, and as I go along and explain things, what am I going to do? What am I going to be saying? And then he goes like that, and all 3 of them say something different. And he goes,
I know you openly admitted to hate watching him, but I don't know how you do it, man. I can't.
It's hilarious sometimes. Yeah, it's hilarious. I love that shit. It's especially like Vinny, especially when he's ranting about or doing one of his analogous stories. I wish you'd just keep the camera on Vinny, because he's just like, he's so invested. He's watching. He's paying. And then he asked Vinny a question. He goes, "So Vinny, we went to Iran for," and Vinny's like, "Oil, no, nuclear." Every time you ask him a question, he gets it wrong. It's like, why? Stop asking him.
Have you ever seen, there's this guy on YouTube. I've only ever seen his videos are only his shorts. I don't think he has full-length videos. And they're all the same. He must work at like a car dealership or something, but he'll start the video with a question. And it's always like a geographical, like, what is the most populated island in the world? And he'll go around and ask everybody at work, and almost everybody gets him wrong. But the way he says no is so iconic and funny. No,
I haven't seen that guy.
He does it the same exact way every time. I will find clips of it and send them to Dean. We'll get them edited into the episode here so you can see it.
That'll be interesting.
But it's just great delivery. And the way he does it is so condescending and brutal that when you get the answer right as the viewer, you're so proud of yourself. Like, oh, thank God I didn't get a no.
All right. So I also just before I came, I saw this clip of Fetterman. Good God, this guy. All right.
Yeah, he looks like he. Okay, I'll wait to make my brutal comment, but
do you want to say it or shall I?
I've seen old hostage videos from Vietnamese prisoners of war saying they apologize for their actions. It looked like they were in nicer accommodations than this.
He looks like he's sitting in the jailhouse shitter. Let's just get it right out there. I don't know how we could possibly get our studio to look that nice, but maybe we put in the request. But anyway, besides all that,
the acoustics are amazing.
Yeah. Besides all that, see if you can tell me what the fuck he's saying. Tell me what you think.
Senator, at the top of the program, you weren't here, but at the top of the program, I played the video of Chuck Schumer, who went to the Senate floor September 10, 2015, and explained why he would vote against the Obama nuclear deal. And he gave all the reasons that you have said, that the president has said, that the deal would ensure that Iran gets a nuclear weapon at the end of the process. And he said, I have to vote no. So what has changed?
I think what's changed is that this is something that the president actually decided to do something about it right now. I don't care, whoever the party it is. I think, it's entirely the right thing at this point. We can't walk away from it at this point. Here we are. And now when I come back into session at the Senate, there's going to be another war powers vote. And I've consistently been the only Democrat in the Senate to vote against it. But as we get in closer and closer to 60 days, this is a closing window, because I don't know where the votes will be. There might be enough people, perhaps on the Republican side, to begin to vote against it at this point. So for me, I think it's entirely important now to hold our ground and to hold Iran.
What the
word salad?
What the hell is he even saying? I don't get it. So what's changed? Well, we went in, and now we got to go. Now we got to stay.
It was harder than we thought.
It's like, what the hell? And then what is got to stand our grand? What the hell is he? Whatever. Yeah. So we got to stand our ground. He hadn't said any which way that he's going to vote on this war powers thing. It's like, what a bunch of, how anybody could, anyway, I don't know how these people get elected, truthfully. Anyway, so I want to play this clip of the bass player blues here, but I want you to load up your other clip that you, oh yeah, here we go.
All right, I've got it pulled up.
Okay, so first we'll play this one, and then Ron will play his response.
I will rejoice and be glad in it, and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made.
All right, so this is in the same vein as, and I think it was our last episode where we had that poor guy dancing on Soul Train or whatever, and you were like, if you're going to pick a token, would you pick one that a good representation or a bad? This is the same kind of thing as that.
Right. So play your clip. That's enough of that one.
They're very musical people, aren't they?
The thing that grabbed me about the original video is, as a bass player, I've been faced with that very exact situation many times, where I've been playing with a band or sitting in with a band, and you got a guy singing and you got a guy playing the drums, and the two of them are not playing the same thing at the same time. So I have to decide, who do I follow? Do I play along with the singer? Do I play along with the drummer? I mean, I feel the pain of that exact musical situation.
You know what would have been another good cutaway there, or another good edit for that would have been when Yoko Ono and Chuck Berry and John Lennon are all together on stage, and Yoko starts to sing, and Chuck Berry looks at John like, "Are you going to do something about this chick?"
Yeah, that would have been a good one. Yeah.
Hold of your woman, because she is ripping my ears apart.
Oh yeah. This one was
Just
pretty
that
good too.
glance.
This one was pretty good.
He was ready to go
too.
Ike Turner on her, man. I'm telling you.
Hold on, let me load this thing up. This is pretty hilarious. This is probably about one of the last ones we do. But anyway, so just before I start this, I should warn everybody. I'm telling everybody, this is the Pope.
My sweet Jesus.
This is the Pope.
My name is Candy Von Sparkle, a.k.a. Christopher. My pronouns
Von
are he, she,
Sparkle.
and they. Please join me
Dutch
responsibly in a
Dixon.
call to worship. Source of life, in the beginning, you made us and called us beloved. When we forget how to love, you remind us to do it.
That's a lot
When
of
the
Roy
powers
G.
of the
Biv, man.
world try to oppress us, your name is beloved. When our siblings in faith condemn us, claim us beloved.
You know, if he really committed, the beard would be dyed too.
I'm telling you, the Pope is just getting really progressive, man. I'm just saying.
I mean, to be honest, the outfits are about as flamboyant either way. Like you consider the hat and everything.
Yeah, really, just a little bit of hair dye and makeup, and they're right in there. Oh, that's hilarious.
At
All
least
right.
if this one sits in front of you in the movie theater, you can still see the screen.
Yeah, good point. All right. Well, I think that's been enough fun for one day. I don't think I can take any more. You about ready to wrap it up?
Yeah, I think we've covered a lot of nonsense. The first half of our show was very informative and educational, and
legitimate.
Almost came across as intelligent. And then, of course, we totally redeemed ourselves by being buffoons and asses for the rest of the show.
And by the way, don't think John is getting away without. He's going to be back on the show to do some rap for us.
Oh boy.
I was so happy for him that he managed to somehow switch the subject and get out of there and escape your curiosity.
Oh, he wanted to do it. That one time he was here, he started to try to do it. I was like, wait till we're on the show. He tried to show me in the hallway. I was like, no. You got to wait till we're on the podcast. I can't judge your rap career by just anyway. All right, so 904-549-9024. Give us a call, leave a comment. Especially Mr. We're Not Going to Mars. By the way, I was actually looking at his page, and I was a little shocked. Would you believe that We're Not Going to Mars is a man of color?
Oh yeah, no, I watched a couple of his
I didn't
videos.
know that. I was like, oh yeah, we got a brother.
Yeah,
we got a smart brother. Yeah, but he definitely could call and leave us a message if he wants, and or anybody else.
Yeah,
for that matter.
we'd love to hear from him.
Yep.
Yeah, comment, like, share, subscribe. Most importantly, subscribe. As I said last time, you can always take it back.
Exactly. All right, guys, we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.